So yeah, those three.
Just sounds like sex.
You know, oh, I drive in my vehicle.
Living there.
It's a good evening, good afternoon, good evening. I'll just stick my head in.
Like, quit making all that.
Good evening, or afternoon, whatever it is.
I think it's evening. It wasn't one story to run. No, it's one across the street. Oh my God.
Oh, did you smile?
How are you?
No, no, but
Walk right in.
You ready?
Yep.
And we'll call the regular meeting of the meeting of the board of the directors of the Northeast Water District order at 5:03. Held at the district office on Brownsville. Roll call, please.
Director Nielsen.
Here.
President Ferguson.
Here.
Vice President Hansard.
Here.
Director Hawthorne.
Here.
Director Brown.
Here.
General Manager Maupin.
Here.
Okay. B. Director Brown, President of the flag.
Please stand. I
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you.
All right, that's the board. On item E, if we can move, if anybody has any objections, we move that to item C. This young lady has to get back to Chico, and she needs to get her report. So, does anybody have any objections to that?
So right now, that is.
Yes, right now.
Yeah, no problem.
Anybody else? Fine. Where did she go?
I'm right here.
Take a roll call vote.
I need, yeah, I need a roll call vote, please.
Director Nielsen.
Here?
President
Or is
Ferguson.
it on it? What? I thought we already did
Aye.
this.
Vice President Hansard.
Aye.
Director Hawthorne.
Aye.
Director Brown.
Aye.
It's all yours.
Okay. Good evening. Thank you for having me here this evening, board members and President Ferguson. I've got a sheet of notes here only because I get really excited about talking about some of the things that the district is doing. So I have a little cheat sheet here so I can look down. If I forget anything, I'll probably, oh wait, I forgot. And I get excited talking and I jump all over the place. And so hopefully I'll keep in a nice stream of thought for you folks. The reason that I'm here tonight is to specifically ask for your approval of a resolution to move forward with a grant opportunity, but I thought it would also be nice, since I was here, to give you some updates on some of the past funding opportunities that the district has been involved with, talk about this current immediate opportunity, and then talk about some future opportunities and strategies for moving forward. So I just want to start off by commending the board with your efforts to seek funding to prioritize the district in the way that you have in support of your general manager, and then also with hiring North Star to work for you. It's been a real opportunity to work in Chico, but actually get to work for a water district and work on projects that support the community that I live in. So that's something I wasn't really expecting to have happen when I took a job in Chico. So over the last 20 years, I've worked on multiple different grant opportunities, and one of the key things that comes into play over and over is the relationships that you build in that process of either the grant application or networking with jurisdictions, and that is always something that helps you in that grant application process. In fact, I was just at a meeting on Monday with somebody that I'd worked on a grant application with probably close to 20 years ago. So those relationships that you build with the grant reviewers, with funders, with political figures, with the local district, state and federal level political folks, partnering agencies is something that I would really urge the district to continue doing. Anytime that you can put the district name and the district needs in front of people, you never know who knows who, where those connections can be made, and sometimes the conversation doesn't it doesn't seem like it would lead anywhere, and lo and behold, they have a connection over here, and sometimes these things all start weaving together, and pretty soon you have help coming to you instead of having to actively go out and seek that help. So that's my goal in trying to work on continually looking for grant funding in support of all the work that you folks are currently doing. So as you're aware, all of these previous grant opportunities that you're involved with, some North Star is helping in some capacity with. Your $500,000 grant that you got through Prop 1 funds through the State Water Board for the Forbes-Town ditch. North Star has been working on the preliminary engineering and design for that project. We're also working on the CEQA and NEPA component of that, and those plans and specs should be to you next month. I had down July, but that's next month. It's next week, in fact. So,
as I understood, it was towards the end of the month, though.
well, I didn't have to burst my.
Well, no.
Yes, July 31st is still in July. No, I'm kidding. It's going to be. It will be in July, towards the latter half of the month, but it is shockingly already going to be July next week. So. As you know, the last time I came to speak to your board, it was to request funds for a contract to prepare an application for the Cal OES Hazard Mitigation Fund dollars that were available for the early 2017 storm events. That is a grant that we were not selected for, but in the process of applying for that grant, I made significant relationships with state level OES folks, and I also got to know very well your Yuba County OES project manager, Scott Bryan, and have indicated how interested the district is in participating in their next multi-hazard mitigation plan update. And then also, I will be representing your district on the Butte County side. They are currently recruiting for a contractor to update their hazard mitigation plan, and that will kick off sometime in September. So you guys straddle those county lines, and being involved in both of those plans is something that is just, it's a real insurance policy, because you have to have projects spelled out in those plans every 5 years in order to be eligible for any kind of those emergency dollars, whether it be for flooding or fire, which we seem to be experiencing an inordinate amount of in this last handful of years. So in February of this year, you folks received some funds from Yuba County Water Agency to begin doing some MHI investigation in the hopes of quantifying this area as severely DAC. And the reason for that, as you know, is that with some of these funding agencies, that classification allows you to receive 100% grant funding rather than just loan amounts or a percentage of grant funding for that allocation that you're applying for. What I wanted to let you know with regard to how North Star is working in that process is we are helping to develop a GIS mapping layer that comes to you as a static map. By the time you folks see it, it's a map that hangs on the wall and looks nice of the district this or the district that. But some of the things that are going into the behind the scenes are data layers from Yuba County, data layers from Butte County, the Rural County Water Agency, or Rural California Water Agency, recently did that technical investigation for you folks. All of the data that they obtained during their technical review is coming into this mapping effort. And so with all of these different data sets, we're building a map that is really a database, a functional database, something that you guys can use as a foundational tool in the future, something that you can incorporate your billing into. You have all of that information at the ready for future capital improvement planning. You have all that information ready for land use planning when it comes to the next county general plan update. I'm not sure if Yuba County is ready to do that, but for Butte County, it's gonna be some years. But anyway, see, I already talked ahead of myself in my notes.
Are those data coming in the form of metadata as well as shape files?
Yes, it absolutely is. And so, just so you know, we've spent quite a bit of time ground truthing all of that data because we've got data sets coming in from multiple different sources. It's coming in different standardized formats, and so we're going in and standardizing all of that in the database files. And so everything that has to be plugged into those database files in order to project it into a shape file or a GIS layer. All that data has to be standardized, and it has to be accurate, it has to be correct. So,
Are you also ground truthing the data?
yes.
Excuse me,
Yeah.
she's talking to the board. Okay, go ahead.
So, anyway, I do want to assure you that even I'm sure that folks are wondering about the timetable for putting that mapping together, but there is a significant amount of work that's going into behind the scenes, and so you can rest assured that it's quality work that's going into that base mapping for you. The district also received funds from Yuba County Water Agency to support the construction of the pipeline, the Forbstown pipeline. And the senior engineer that's doing the plans and specs has become very closely involved with staff from Yuba County Water Agency, and they have a very good working relationship back and forth, which I think is beneficial for the district to have that level of trust in your engineering staff. And then again, the Rural California Water Agency's technical memo that they supplied to you kind of outlines some of the most critical pieces of what you folks need to do to address some of your water quality, water quantity, and efficiencies and future capital outlay improvement planning. And so the good thing about that document is that the grant funds that were provided directly to them on behalf of the district, they were able to put together kind of this mini capital improvement plan. And because they've got technical data paired with budgeting information, that is a document that you will be able to use as one of your theoretical district planning documents. Many of these grant opportunities have a requirement, a stipulation that you have local planning documents in place that spell out some of these projects that you're applying for funds for. And so when you've got smaller districts like this that, are just trying to, keep things together with baling wire and bubble gum, you need to have some of these technical documents that spell some of these projects out, because an actual capital improvement planning document takes a significant amount of time and money. And so that was a really critical piece of work to have done for the district. Let's see. So one of the very immediate project opportunities that we think that we've found funding for is a portion of the Dobbins Organ House ditch, the section 03. I attended a funding fair in May where they had multiple state and federal representatives there, and I found the U.S. Bureau folks who have a current open solicitation for water efficiency grants, and sat down at the table and talked with them for as long as they were willing to sit and talk with me about any potential opportunities for the district. And the program manager from Sacramento actually said that this district is in a very good position to apply for funds. They separate them out in small scale and then larger scale. So the funding opportunity for the large scale already closed in May, but this opportunity closes July 31st. And they suggested that, there's a lot of districts that don't have funds available for the 50% match. And then there's also, folks that $75,000 doesn't do anything for them. So we're kind of in this place with their funding allocation where they're looking for districts like this that are just trying to get their arms around water use efficiency. And that's what your district is looking to do. So you have multiple different projects that fall under those water use efficiency criteria. And his suggestion was that we look at things in a phased approach and look at applying for this small scale grant this year, and then something that could be potentially applied for next year. There's up to a $300,000 in the larger scale grant application, but of course it's got that 50% match. So with this opportunity, because it is up to $75,000, the district would be required to provide either an in-kind state grant funds or cash match to apply for this. I had a subsequent conversation with a Willows program representative who explained that utilizing your district crews for doing some of the ditch prep work and then actual pipeline installation, that can all be used as your in-kind match. And so there's a high probability that you could come pretty close to outline matching funds for this grant application without even having to spend district funds. So there's also an opportunity to include any kind of preliminary engineering or design work. And so anything that North Star has done by way of work for analyzing needs on the lower ditch, the surveying, or any of the engineering, that can be included for up to a year before the application process. So I think you're pretty close. You should come out pretty close to having the in-kind portion cover your match requirement. The resolution that I mentioned earlier is something that the board would have to agree to approve to move forward, designating both the general manager as the fiduciary agent and authorize him to apply for the grant, and then also act on behalf of the district for any of the financial expenditures and reporting requirements. Also, just to let you know that North Star would be working with your approval to prepare the grant application, and we've submitted a budget to the general manager for roughly $9,000 for that application prep. There's some economies of scale taking place with having us work on projects for you, because we go to a lot of these meetings and funding fairs on behalf of other districts too, so my time kind of gets split up amongst other districts, and so you folks don't get charged a full rate just for, I'm not just working for you, so that cost gets shared amongst at least 2, sometimes 3 other districts. That would be your action item for tonight that I would be requesting, is that you consider the approval and signing the resolution authorizing your general manager to apply for the grant and committing the in-kind funds up to the dollar amount that you apply for the federal dollars for. So some of the future opportunities that North Star is looking at is also continual correspondence, as well as the general manager working with state staff at the Water Resource Control Board in hopes of obtaining some dollars for construction of the Forbes-Town pipeline. It's been my experience that once the state puts some funds into planning efforts, then they typically come back in with construction dollars to fund at least some portion of that project that they designated all the planning efforts to. So we're very hopeful on that. The district is also engaging with USDA ongoing. Part of where we're trying to get with the median household income study is to get to a point where we have that severely disadvantaged community designation, so we do qualify for 100% grant funding with them. USDA Water Environmental Program has funds available, but they have a lot of loan funds available. Their loan rates are not the best, but they're always looking for projects to get involved with, and so that's an option that's out there, that hopefully we can get this classification that would allow the district to qualify for 100% grant funding for any of those program opportunities. And then again, like I mentioned, with the U.S. Bureau of Reclamation, this funding opportunity that we would potentially be applying for now in July is the small scale grant. And so the large scale opportunity would close again next May, unless for some strange reason they didn't fund that program next year. And so there is a potential opportunity to look at some larger scale, either continuing of piping the Dobbins Organ House Canal, or looking at some of these other things that have been outlined in the technical memo that would not only improve efficiencies for the district, but also kind of align with Bureau goals for protection of the environment, you know, efficient use of a resource. Because the bottom line is we're all here to protect a resource that's finite and valuable to all of us to live. So, and then I just have a few suggestions kind of to sum things up with regard to suggestions for moving forward and looking at grant opportunities. This is something that I do all the time, but it's also something that I know you folks do all the time in various different capacities. And so I would just encourage all of you folks to continue talking about the district and the district needs to anybody that you encounter that could, you never know who can potentially help. This teamwork with the district efforts, the general manager's efforts, and any of the partnerships that are currently developing, have been developed, or that we can look at developing in the future with the county staff in both Butte and Yuba County, and then folks at both the state and federal levels. These California Financing Coordinating Committee funding fairs happen every May, and so they present a wealth of information for things that are available. The district, if the district was ever interested in obtaining loans, the USDA is not the only entity that would provide loans. There are a plethora of places throughout that the state recommends utility, water, wastewater districts apply for. So just so you know, that's out there as well. We've also, Congressman Garamendi's Deputy Chief of Staff and Legislative Director reached out to your general manager because this is the person specifically handling water issues, and wanted to know where is the district? Where does the district stand with current projects and future needs? And so a summary was prepared and presented with dollar amounts to the extent that we had them associated with all the immediate project needs that are outlined in that technical memo that the Rural California Water Agency put together for you, along with some of these other projects that North Star is working on. Hopefully something will come of that. Again, all of these efforts weave together to help with infrastructure for your water quality needs and your water quantity needs, and positioning the district to have their, to have everything lined out in some sort of thoughtful planning manner helps you anytime there are future land use planning efforts taking place at the county level. The district is able to be at the table leading the way rather than coming to the table, having somebody else maybe provide direction on where they think the district should go. So I am just always encouraging of local control. Local folks know what's best for local folks. And that's about it. I tried to race through that as quickly as I could.
So the objective here is for you to authorize the resolution and then authorize the contractual engagement of North Star on this grant application.
And we have till July 31st to get this in.
Yes, it's due at 4 o'clock on July 31st. But I will warn you, I'm not a person that likes to wait till the last minute.
That's good.
What do you guys think?
I just had a couple questions.
Okay.
And I think you covered it, on the in-kind match. Does that start on the day that we're granted the funds?
No, there is, actually, I apologize, I have a copy of the funding opportunity announcement I provided to your general manager, and I didn't print out a hard copy for you folks, I apologize. But you have up to a year prior to the grant application to potentially look at things specifically like engineering and design work. So it's not like, oh, we bought a new tractor and we're gonna use that backhoe bucket to dig the trench out, and so we want to, it's not that kind of year prior. It's gotta be something that was specifically related to planning efforts to get this project ready to make an application for.
And could your planning costs be included as part
Yes,
of that?
yes.
Okay. My other question is, you talked about the two different grants.
Mhm.
Do you think if we fail in this one, that could be massaged and we could go after the other grant?
The larger scale, I
Right.
do, absolutely. Yeah, I think that my approach to grant writing has always been how many people can I get to know, how many people can I develop relationships with, so that when I have questions, I am not embarrassed to call and say, what about this, what about that, what about this, what about that? So I've had already since May 2nd, at least 6 conversations with the Willows representative asking various different questions just to get to the point where I was confident in recommending to your general manager that yes, the district should probably go after these funds, and here's the manner in which you should do it. It should be this phased approach. You can utilize in-kind contribution by way of staff efforts, some of our preliminary engineering and planning, and so I think, and then, you know, if the information that I received from Bureau staff at that funding fair is accurate, and, you know, there's a potential for a project like this to be highlighted, apparently there, you know, because, you know, the large scale grant is for $300,000, up to $300,000. There's not a whole lot of districts that have up to $300,000 for match. So typically, he said, you know, Metropolitan Water District gobbles those grants up over and over and over. And they would really like to see some districts up here receive some of those funds. So to the extent that we could potentially leverage some state funding, if you were to get any more Prop 1 funding, if there's any possible way that we can work to leverage dollars, that would be your best bet. And you don't have to apply for the up to $300,000. You know, if you had some of the Prop 1 money that you could, you know, if you had another $50,000 that you could use to leverage, you know, and another, you know, pot, you know, another batch of in-kind staff efforts to lump in with that. But these are the kinds of things that I bring it up now so that we can start being strategic about our approach to thinking, hey, there's a potential opportunity. If whether we get funded for this small scale grant or not, there's another opportunity coming next May. How can we position the district to be able to apply for something like that?
Great, thank you.
And you would help the general manager also on the writing of it, the wording and all that also?
Yes, that is correct.
Okay.
I spent today going through everything, so I have a pretty good catalog of all the components. It's a fairly simplistic grant application compared to like the Cal OES grant. That was a federal application template that was kind of a nightmare. So this one seems like a piece of cake in comparison. So pretty much the only thing I would really need to rely on the general manager for is, we've talked about having kind of a couple-hour planning session. You do, for any in-kind match, you need to go through personnel rates and benefits and all of those kinds of things. There's a specific template that you have to fill in for all of that information that's used for in-kind match, but that's pretty much all I would need to work directly with the general manager on. The rest of it I would be completing.
We've applied for grants prior to these. We were the ones, we were successful to 500 to 273,000, for goodness sake. We have all the supporting documentation to provide North Star for all of the background information and that sort of thing. It's basically what we use their expertise for is the specialties in each grant, the line items that aren't covered in our general grant writing.
Yes, that, to be specific, there are NEPA and the cultural historical certifications that have to be done as a component of this in North Star. That is part of the budget for North Star to cover.
Back to the in-kind, we purchased a backhoe and a excavator for the Dobbins Organ House ditch.
Mm-hmm.
So would that work on this or not?
They have some very specific parameters about equipment. They have ceilings on the dollar amounts that you can include, and because it's already, that would be something I would have to check in with the program manager on, because as I read through the funding announcement, it doesn't look like prior equipment purchases would qualify, but I can get back to your general manager and provide you that information for sure.
Okay.
It'd be more like our staff, our
Okay.
office, it'd be more like our laborers.
Because what I was saying was, is we were, getting ready to pipe some of the bad places in there, so we had to have the equipment, because this is the only board that ever bought anything for the
Yeah.
district ever. And so I was figuring if that's what it was for, that would be part of the in-kind, because that's what it was designated for.
Yes, I can look into that for sure. I just, because it's already been purchased, I don't know for sure. So I can get back to the general manager and route that information back to you folks, so. I wish I could stand here and tell you that, the district could be successful on every single grant application. But, hopefully with this idea of, building on all the work that you folks have done in your seated terms, moving the district forward with equipment and personnel and reaching out to put the district out there and work to get the funds that you have currently, you're building the district to position itself well for any of these future grant opportunities. And I think that, some of these opportunities that the district may not, you can't check off all the compliance boxes because you don't have certain things in place. I think the district is slowly building itself up to a point where you would be better positioned to look at things across the board, so.
Remind me what other grant opportunities you've helped us with so far.
Specifically North Star did the application for that Cal OES hazard mitigation. It was emergency funding administered through the state OES department. So we did that application. We did not get funded, but in preparing that grant application, it actually pushed us to do the technical memo for the Forbstown ditch project. And so that portion of that project got pushed. Actually, we almost had that technical memo done before you signed all the final documents with the state for receiving those funds, and positioned our engineering staff to be able to move forward faster with preparing the plans and specs. So I'm a really competitive person that doesn't feel well and not get a first win, but all of that information that we put together in that application process has served the district well for other purposes, and will likely still continue using that information until we exhaust every opportunity to go after funds to cover the construction of that Forbstown ditch.
Not fun.
Can't win if we don't play.
This is Big 10-4 on that one.
Actually, what are the two things? We're gonna vote on the resolution, but then,
And then a contract
then that's for the 90.
That would be a not to exceed.
Okay.
What I should have done is tell you exactly what we spent on that last application contract, because I know we didn't max out that contract for the grant preparation, but that would be a not to exceed price. That's not a fixed price for preparation.
So this basically.
Okay, I need a motion to accept the resolution of number 18-726.
I'll make that motion to approve.
And I'll second it. Oh, sorry. I'll second.
Okay. More discussion? Public? Yes,
It is usually customary that these are put on the agenda.
I have it on mine.
Really? So the one that was online does not have it.
Oh, sorry.
Well, it was on the one I got.
Anybody else?
Farther down.
Where? Item E. Item G? E.
we are on, you've had a first.
If you have first, second, roll call, please.
Wait a second.
The public isn't
Public
done.
comment.
Yeah, there's no resolution on this agenda.
It's right here on item G. Look at the bottom of the page.
We moved it up
We moved it up.
to
It
C.
says vehicle replacement policy.
Oh, E.
You're on E.
E. I'm on E, sorry. That's
But
E.
still, it's in there.
Financial management.
Yes,
I have 3 questions for
through
you.
the chair, please. Through the chair, please.
I have 3 questions for the young lady to my right.
Okay.
First of all, I would like to know how the auditing of the books of these grants works when I have gotten grants. Typically, the granting agency does regular audits of the books. They want to see how you're spending the grant money. Does this grant also get audited by the funding source?
Can I interject? It's public comment, not question.
What's your name?
Dr. Gretchen Floor.
Okay.
You can make a comment.
Okay. My next comment is that I very much disagree with the idea of handing over fiduciary responsibility to a single individual, and there is not any sort of interaction or oversight by the board of these monies. There does need to be oversight. Anytime you're talking about this kind of money, there needs to be oversight. End of comment.
Anybody else? Roll call, please.
Director Nielsen,
Aye.
President Ferguson,
Aye.
Vice President Hanser,
Aye.
Director Hawthorne,
Aye.
Director Brown.
Aye. Thank you, Chris.
Any more,
Motion on the contract.
anything else you
Hold
have?
hold
Any
on.
questions?
Yep, yep.
I will
We
get
have one
back.
more, we have one
Oh,
more.
I make a motion that we accept the contract with North Star for the grant work.
The maximum.
Say again.
What would be the maximum?
Not to exceed,
Not to exceed 9,150.
not to exceed 9,150.
Need a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Public comment?
Still ain't on my agenda.
Hearing none. Roll call, please.
Director Nielsen,
Aye.
President Ferguson,
Aye.
Vice President Hanser,
Aye.
Director Hawthorne,
Affirmative.
Director Brown.
Aye.
Okay, Kristen, good luck tonight.
Thank you so much. It's always nice to come visit with you folks, and we'll be in touch. I will have a response to you through your general manager regarding the equipment purchases.
Thank you, Chris.
Thank you folks. Have a good evening.
Be safe going down the hill.
Thank you.
Okay, we got E taken care of, now we're going to go back to C, consent items. Approval of the minutes of the regular board meeting in May 2018. Approve the payroll of the month of May 2018 of $29,412.20. Approve the bills of the month for May 2018, $116,918.67. I want to take a 5-minute break right quick, please.
Yeah, turn it off while we're done. Yeah, turn it off.
Yeah, I know.